So if you're a seven-figure business owner and you still feel like you don't have a handle on your finances, you're not alone. It's interesting that this year has been the year that I've seen the biggest number of inquiries for seven, multi-seven and even eight-figure business owners who really don't feel like they've got a handle on their finances and certainly aren't earning the kind of money that they thought they would be making at this stage of their business game. I'm going to be explaining to you exactly why this happens and what you can do to. Now, I know from first-hand experience that prior to scaling my first seven-figure business, I placed this kind of seven-figure milestone on a pedestal that I'm like, once I've got $1 million plus business, everything's going to be made, money's going to rain from the heavens, and I'm never going to go short of anything ever again. Basically, financial freedom is presupposed. But for all of these seven-figure and eight-figure businesses that I've worked with in the past, the reality is that is often pretty far from the truth. And what we often see is that for many of these businesses, they just become overwhelmed by the sheer amount of complexity. The number of headcount they've got in their business, the number of clients and customers that they need to service, just the sheer complexity of the day-to-day operations can be incredibly overwhelming. And for so many of these businesses, their finances can get away from them, and they suffer from what we refer to as cash flow creep. And that as they've grown and scaled their business, they haven't necessarily evolved their financial operating system. And as a result, they've got themselves in a position whereby their profits have actually been slowly eroding, and in many cases getting them to a position whereby they can't even pay themselves a market income. And this is not why we got into business in the first place. Well, why does this happen? Well, we need to understand that when you're growing and scaling a business, there should only be three key considerations. One, we need to be building a business model around profitability, not vanity metrics. I've worked with businesses that have done over $100 million a year in revenue and have operated on a 1% profit margin. That's not ideal because there's a huge amount of complexity, a huge amount of risk, a huge amount of stress associated with producing $100 million a year in revenue. And if you're only keeping 1% of that, then that is a really small fraction of that overall effort and value that you've created for everyone else that you're able to keep as a result of that creation. Two, we need to understand, how do we actually buy back our time? Because the reason why so many business owners who are at this phase are not producing the financial results that they ultimately want is because they're not investing their time in the right place. They are typically doing the tasks and the responsibilities that they've always done, that they've always been comfortable doing, because that's basically what they've spent potentially years or decades honing their craft upon. And the reality is, if you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to keep getting what you've always got. And for many of these individuals, they just haven't taken personal responsibility for being the CEO, for being the founder of that organization, for understanding the numbers, of knowing where the value is created, and also identifying where the cash flow bottlenecks exist that are consuming the precious lifeblood that is ultimately cannibalizing their profit. And then thirdly is freedom. We should be building a business for creating freedom. It's about disconnecting that effort from our income and looking for ways that we can create leverage, ultimately about building a business that has sustainable profits, that once we're removed from the business in many cases can be more profitable without us than when we're there. Then making sure that we can distribute dependable dividends to ourselves, because at the end of the day, that is why we are in business. We deserve to get 2 paychecks. We deserve to get paid for the work we do in our business, and we deserve to get paid for the risk that we take for investing in our business, for having shares in our business. And then lastly, we need to be having a succession plan, because your business should always be ready for sale. And if it is ready for sale, it means it's more profitable and it is less reliant on you. So the reality is, if you are running a multi-seven-figure business and you aren't making the kind of money that you thought you'd be making at this stage of the game, you are not alone. And this is more common than you might think. And this comes down to us working through a process of firstly deconstructing your financial model, understanding all of the inputs. What are the number of leads that you're getting, the sales that you're making, what's your cash conversion cycle, what are your offerings, what are your conversion rates. And once we understand these core metrics, we have the ability to understand what are the levers in your business and the sensitivity of those levers when pulled in order to achieve better financial outcomes. Next, we then work out, what is the low-hanging financial fruit in your business? Is it increasing price? Is it increasing volume? Is it maximizing conversion? Is it optimizing costs? Is it implementing efficiencies? Because the idea is that once we understand your financial model, we can then start developing a strategy around that in order to support you to improve those results. That business that I spoke to you about before, that was doing $100 million in revenue at 1% profit, well, we were able to increase their profitability to a 7% from 1%, so a 700% increase in profitability, which is equivalent to over $6 million a year. That's cold hard cash as a result of implementing these strategies. So once you know what levers to pull, then we can implement a strategy to work at how to pull them. And it's about getting educated, because you can't abdicate financial responsibility at this stage of the game, guys. Your accountant is never going to love your money as much as you do. Your financial advisor is never going to love your money as much as you do. Your business coach is never going to love your money as much as you do. Your ability to drive these results is going to come down to you getting educated, of you getting into your financial driver's seat and knowing exactly what decisions should be made and how to be able to make those decisions in order to get the outcomes that you truly desire. And you don't need to do it alone. This is about working in partnership and making sure that you've got those 50-50 relationships, and you need to have a certain level of education and understanding in order to derive that value in the first place. And it's about time that you learnt. And the good news is it's actually not that complicated. So if you're a 7-figure business owner, potentially you're even at 8 figures, and you feel out of control of your finances, you've experienced that cash flow creep, and ultimately it's got you to a point where something needs to give, because you deserve to take more out of your business if you're going to be able to achieve your goals and objectives outside of it, then you're in the right place. Jump in the link in my bio, complete the wealth health check, the 40-point financial performance scorecard. Let's get laser focused on exactly where you need to be focusing your time and attention. And then let's work out the game plan that you need to implement that's going to help you improve those financial results lightning fast. Jump on that link and let's see you on the inside.